Hello, welcome everyone. Welcome to this meetup. My name is Sohan and I have David, Martijn, Marta, Fabian, Andres, Zamira, and Walter. Yes, it is a crowded meetup today. So we're going to be talking about Andy Jassy's keynote that just ended. First of all, thanks for joining in. And yeah, so first off, thoughts. Martijn, why don't you go first? Yeah, Martijn, do you want to share your thoughts on, I think you're on mute.
He's muted.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was trying to fix the YouTube and the Twitch, etc., and then I lost my window of StreamYard. Well, my thoughts. It was a very long keynote, and what I thought he did it live at the same quality level as the normal re-event keynotes Andy does. So it was really cool, I think, but also really long. So people who are watching this. Respect after 3 hours of listening to Andy, and now have to listen at 8 of us. Yeah, that's it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. But props to Andy, though. I think he handled it really well. It was as good as, presenting in front of 10,000 people. He landed everything. Anyone else thoughts? Why don't you chip in? This is like a free-for-all conversation. I actually spent the 3 hours taking notes on my book here. So I'm well prepared for this because I knew this was happening. David, why don't you go?
Well, I think I feel sorry for you for taking those notes, man. You should know AWS. It'll change in like 3 months anyway. So, no, for me, it's crazy. I mean, there's so much cool stuff. They only mentioned Microsoft with license things twice. So I had to have 2 drinks while it was happening. That's like my ritual.
And Oracle once. So that's 3 drinks, yeah.
I'll have it after this. But I thought it was cool. I mean, they constantly keep expanding in stuff that I didn't think they would be expanding on, like did that machine learning stuff, I'm pretty into that kind of thing. And it's like, it's just getting more and more crazy. It's like, I can't even imagine what companies could actually, if you were crazy enough, what you could actually invent, So like when I look at this stuff, I'm kind of psyched to see what's in it for the rest of the week. I mean, I think there's going to be some super cool stuff we're going to see.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, Andres, why don't you go ahead?
Sorry?
Oh, no. Andres, you had something you were going to say?
Oh, not really, but I totally agree with David. So the machine learning stuff was really interesting, especially QuickSight Q, wondering how they do that. So about learning all the relationships in your source data. That was really nice to see. So I think I have a lot of blog posts to read after this session.
Yeah. For me, I think one of the most mind-blowing stats came in the start of the keynote, where it was mentioned that 96% of workloads are sort of running on-prem, which still blows my mind. I'm sort of, I assume like, hey, everyone's just using the cloud, maybe AWS bias. Zamira, on that note, what was your favorite launch from today?
There is a lot, but definitely I will say machine learning also was focus of Andy Jassy Keynote today. However, for containers as well, there was very interesting that it was ECS or to everyone, EKS to anywhere. And also something very interesting is about pipelines. So there was a pipelines only for containers, was another pipeline only for machine learning. So I say, okay, finally, we don't have to think only for code build and code pipeline, but now there are specific services that we can build and deploy. So definitely was really cool. So we started with computing, containers, serverless, and then machine learning stuff. It was a really long part, but was really interesting. New feature, new services.
Yep. And Walter, I have to ask you this question. DevOps guru, And you are the DevOps guru, so thoughts on that? And people feel free to jump in. You know Walter well, you know the service well, yeah.
One of my good friends, Kies Buitaert, he just tweeted this morning that he had someone apply for a job with him that had DevOps certification, and he canceled the whole job interview because you cannot possibly have DevOps certification. And there was a whole discussion over how we lost the battle for DevOps being what it is, and the industry having made a different definition of it. And I think this confirms it. I don't know. What I found really interesting, actually, is the specific mention and a focus on open source, which is pretty much a 180 from most of the things that we've seen in the past. And so it's a little bit difficult because it's an announcement of stuff that will come in the future. So a true open source product is quite a different ballpark. So I'm curious to see how that will develop. But I thought it was really nice that that was actually a part of the pieces moving forward. And I think
in particular the announcements of new features for next year, but now they already launched the open source part, so you can already start working with it, like a public beta, for example. So just to prepare. Sorry for interrupting.
No, you're absolutely right. I found it to be quite interesting, and I think that towards the end of the keynote, for me personally, those are a lot of niche products. And if we're talking about 500,000 people tuning into a keynote, I wonder how many of those are interested in, the panorama for manufacturing. I just had one of the juniors at our company reach out. He said, "I'm totally overwhelmed. They announced so many things. I need to learn about so many things." I said, "No, you don't. Just forget everything you saw, and then in 2 months from now, all the terms that you see then, that's what you should learn about, and the other things. There are really interesting use cases and customers for each one of them, but you don't need to know everything about everything that was just announced."
Yeah, I fully agree with you, Walter. Probably like 5 or 7 years ago, so everyone was proud to know everything in AWS. Yeah. But now, after 7 years, so many features and services, you are not really able to follow all of them. Are so many. So probably we can know more about machine learning or probably computing or containers, but definitely not all of them. And we don't have physical time to build and to understand how these services work if we really don't have any use case.
Yeah. And I think similarly, the level of excitement of announcements, while they announced a bunch of really cool stuff, when the year they announced Lambda, people just walked away with their mind blown from the keynotes. And now you're like, okay, that was a bunch of cool stuff, and we could do a lot of new things. But because we've tackled all the big things, it's now much more going in depth, which is still really cool stuff. But I think the fully mind-blowing stuff for me has passed a bit.
Yeah, I guess a lot of things are more about saving cost and optimizing your existing stuff, making it easier to deploy, those kind of things. But with regards to the DevOps Guru, isn't it more like a sort of trusted advisor version 2, or is it? Do you see like?
I couldn't really make heads or tails of it, so I'll have to take a look at what it actually is. But we thought that Azure had a really bad naming for Azure DevOps, but then now AWS one-upped it a bit. So interesting.
I think also the open sourcing of Babelfish is also really nice. To have.
Yeah, I know plenty of customers who so not everybody doesn't like being on MS SQL. So for those people, please stay with whatever works for you. But some customers that I know have chosen it in the beginning of their existence and have now a lot of issues trying to move away from it. So an open source product that makes that feasible is beautiful, I think.
I wonder when the version for Oracle will come out.
I was wondering why he wasn't, because he very clearly took a stab at Microsoft Business with a whole bunch of different announcements, and some at Google as well, with the open sourcing the Kubernetes stuff. I think is a clear stab at Antos, but I was missing the stabs at Oracle there.
Yep. Any thoughts on the analytics services that were launched? Like there was a Glue Elastic Views and a bunch of them. I know a lot of people were excited about them. Anyone has thoughts on those?
I think the Elastic View, it probably makes integration with, for instance, DynamoDB and analytics a lot easier. So curious to see how they will capture all the data changes, because they said, well, it's supported by RDS. So is it all RDS in types or just a few? That would be very, very interesting.
For me, it's interesting because it's like the pain that people have spent like coding up solutions to like get two sources of data together. And now it's just like, actually, we've got this little workflow UI thing that you can set up, you know, and this is like the constant pattern thing. So for me, it's actually, I love to stay abreast of the services that are just released, because I find 3 years from now, there'll be so many different analytical services. I'll be like, oh my gosh, what's happening here? This Glue thing has changed completely. And then the QuickSight 2, that version 2 thing. I mean, QuickSight has had that anomaly detection like maybe a year ago or something like that, and they upped it and it was pretty cool. I was like, oh man, and QuickSight is a great tool. And now they've like got this other thing, and I'm like just curious about how the magic of it even actually works, to be honest. So yeah, analytics stuff is epic right now.
Yeah, I wanted to add that it was a new service, Ec2 or something like that he launched as well, that you can basically use natural language to ask, and automatically the systems give you back the answer. This is really, let's say, cool stuff for the people that are not technical and they want to get this data, so they just can use the natural language for analytics.
Yes, for sure. You know, and I think a lot of people using the end users or the end customers of such tools, you know, might not necessarily have experience doing that. So I think natural language makes a lot of sense. So, yeah. And folks in the crowd watching, I know there are quite a few of you all. Please send in your questions. We have an expert panel here. We'd love to take questions if you have any about, you know, Andy Jassy's keynote and the new launches. Okay. Yeah. Any other databases stuff popped out to you? You know, there was Aurora 2. What else was there? Yeah, we spoke about Babelfish and open source. Anything popped out to each of y'all?
I just want to say I like how Babelfish, they said for like MS SQL licensing, and then they host it on GitHub. I love this world.
Yep.
And also, I think I didn't, I'm not sure, maybe I missed it in the keynote, but I saw that just the ECR public registry was launched. So with the Docker Hub limitations from the past weeks, that's also a nice new thing.
And
it wasn't named in the keynote, but there were a few announcements that were not called in the keynote, but they are on the blog. So I was also writing just like someone, and then I discovered that Jeff Barr was also doing a live blog. So his blog is way better than mine, of course. So there was a lot of, also on Twitter, so many messages that you can't keep up with the messages. There was one thing that I saw. We had Werner Vogels on the Community Day here in the Netherlands a few weeks ago, and also Corey Quinn. And I also saw Werner answering to one of his tweets. So it looked like they are still friends. So that was also good to see.
Hopefully Community Day 2021 then can call them back.
Yeah.
So how do you guys feel about their EKS going open source? I mean, everybody and their grandmother in provider landscape is building Kubernetes implementations, and they're open sourcing their variant. So for me, I'm a pretty heavy EKS user. So every time I run into something that doesn't work maybe as I expected, now I might be able to actually find the reason in the code. So that's really good for me. But it has to be a scary decision too, because I mean, all your competitors are going to be looking at your code and trying to take what they can use to improve theirs.
Well, I think for that we need to wait until we see what they actually mean by open sourcing it, because I doubt that they're making their backend technology open source. There is no viable use case for that, so I presume it's enough to do what they just announced, that you can run it on-prem. But I doubt that they'll make the whole thing open source. It would be really great, but.
But what is the
before I believe it?
What is the big difference between the vanilla, like Kubernetes and EKS in that sense? Because
not that
all
much
the
really.
things should work, right? So
yeah. In fact, if you install a vanilla Kubernetes on EC2, it's not that different. It's just that you don't have to worry about your control plane, and there's some networking CNI stuff that's already fixed for you, and the OpenID stuff, the login, the authentication to your cluster is already done. So, but if they open source that might be interesting. I'm also interested to see if maybe they're going to, maybe that is even open source. I haven't actually looked. The way they built their AMIs specifically for EKS with the health checks on them.
Yeah. We have a comment from Salty Sid who says the EKS managed node group support for spot instances is a pretty slick release as well. Any thoughts on that, Fox?
Sure. If it helps you save money, then of course it's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks, Salty_Sid. Yep, agreed with that. Did you all catch up on some of the pre-announcements? Like, I think one thing that was really interesting to me was the EC2 instances on Mac that was announced. I think picked up a lot of, especially, people developing on Mac and iOS. I don't know if any of you all actually do Mac/iOS dev, but I think that was pretty interesting.
I was like, sweet, I can have a Raspberry Pi and like have a Mac, type deal. And then I actually worked it out and it would cost me like $4,000 a year. So
yeah, I believe it's really cool, but for me it's really expensive right now. So it was, as I remember, $1 for 1 hour or something like that.
It's even worse. So there's a really good thread on Hacker News. So the problem is that Apple put in a EULA for anyone that you cannot rent out a Mac more often than once a day, once every 24 hours. So you get billed by the 24 hours for this service. And it's $26 for 24 hours. So, and there's no virtualization. So it actually runs on a Mac Mini somewhere in a data center. There's a Mac Mini that you get to command for 24 hours. Yeah, so it's the way it stands now. It's quite expensive and not as dynamic as we're used to from other things. But at the same time, being able to run your CI/CD pipeline natively in AWS, if that's where all your other stuff lives, being able to reach out to all the AWS specific services that you use straight from your pipeline or your development environments is mind-blowing to me. It just meant that anyone who's developing on iOS can now be an even happier AWS customer and can throw those Mac Minis out of the closet that they have, because that's how it is for many of those developers.
Yeah.
Just to go back to oh, sorry, David, just to go back to DevOps stuff as well. So something really nice that I saw about CodeGuru. CodeGuru last year was new service and completely expensive and was supported only Java, but I saw at least this year they support Python, that I think is more the real language that can be used for everyone. But I didn't saw something about the price for CodeGuru. Is going to be the same price or something more cheaper? Because I believe still is really expensive as service days.
The CodeGuru is one of those products. Have you ever seen it in the wild with an actual customer? I haven't. It's really cool stuff.
there are quite a few, people who do that. You're right, Zamira, that pricing is, I've heard feedback that it is a little expensive. But honestly, I've done a lot of sessions talking about, that top layer AI. And one thing everyone asks is, hey, what languages are Code Guru available for? And back then I used to say only Java, and people like, but it's good to say Python also now.
Yeah.
We have a question from Raw Chid. Maybe not really a question, but I was thinking how AWS Proton relates to the cloud development kit. Maybe someone can shine a light on that. Is Proton equal to automated management for container and serverless deployments? Any IAC folks maybe want to take this?
The only thing I catched up in one of the blog posts was that Proton works with CloudFormation, CDK, Terraform, and the likes. So it should work fine with all the common used platforms. But only one sentence was that catched my eye, and not the whole blog post yet. So that's the only thing I know.
Cool. This is LiveByte says Lambda per MS pricing is the biggest. I'm surprised none of y'all have mentioned that. I think that's a big deal.
It is a big deal.
Yeah.
That's it, per millisecond.
Yeah, per millisecond and native container support. So that you could, if you have a container that already runs as something that could, spin up, do its job, and then die off again, now you can just easily insert it as a Lambda function. Makes development a little bit easier.
It's almost like you don't need Kubernetes anymore.
Yeah, you go back to your corner now.
Yeah, I think a lot of people were looking for millisecond charging on Lambda, like Michael 538 also says. So yes, I think that's a big one. Lot more scope for fine tuning with Lambda now, I think. So your engineers better work double time. Walter, are you putting your engineers to work overtime now to do Lambda power tuning?
Yeah, of course. Lambda is quite interesting, but I'm also quite interested in all the Connect functionality. I thought that Amazon Connect getting that much airtime, so to speak, is quite a good indication of how they see it as an important part of the whole product suite.
Yep, for sure. And I think. Nothing, but Andy mentioned this, but a lot of that usage was accelerated thanks to the pandemic, and so the team, you can see that they've doubled down. They've launched a bunch of features in the last 3-4 months. The usage has really gone up, and I think super useful. Any of y'all use Connect? Have any insights there? Anybody? Yeah. Okay.
If you've actually used it, it's a service. The way it integrates with like Lex and other stuff too, it's a great service to use. So the one thing I saw with their release was like Connect voice ID, can authenticate people who are like their natural voice or something. I was like, how is this even possible? I was that's a bit scary even, but I was like, wow.
Customer profiles, I think it's called. Yeah.
I think that with Connect, there's quite a lot of opportunity there because I don't know if any of you guys are familiar with the call center industry, but that is pretty much it's in a horrible shape. Those people are doing archaic things, and then Connect seems quite interesting. But for me, I would like to see Connect APIs be well developed. They had a bit of a push a couple of months ago, but you cannot really terraform a Connect instance, let alone the stuff that goes inside a Connect instance. So that is still pretty manual. But at the same time, all of these things and the integrations with the other services and the voice services, that really make it a very strong proposition.
Yep.
So Connect ID basically analyze your voice, compare your voice with others, and in the end says, okay, you are you, or this is your mom.
That's what I'm saying, right?
And if you're angry or not, yeah.
Yeah, it's not scary. It's scary. I mean,
But this is already
to Alexa, the voices that we're getting from here. I don't know.
Yeah, Alexa has had voice profiles for a while now. So in your house, if you say, like book me a cab, or if your spouse says that if the skill has programmed it, you can get like, you know, 2 different responses and stuff. So yeah, I think a lot of that tech has been taken over. Cool. We have F1 Bowen says, hi all. Oh, Jeroen asks, what do you hope / expect in terms of other announcements coming up during the rest of reInvent? Why don't each of us take this maybe? We'll start with you, Marta. You've been quiet, yeah.
Good question. Well, there's a lot. I think the pre-event releases of Network Firewall and the Gateway Load Balancers were really interesting. So I hope to see some more around that. Maybe some better integrations and so on. Also, I think there's still nothing mentioned today on extensions to organizations, like simple things like delete account API, for example. Removing the need for root accounts to do anything in an account when you create it, enabling support, those kind of things. Yeah, I think that's a few minor things that need to be there. Like another thing that came up, DNSSEC, for example, would be nice to have in Route 53. Hopefully that will be announced. Yeah, and I think it's more about the management side. I'm looking for some nice improvements. Yeah.
Nice. I like how specific everything you mentioned, Marta, were. I can see that these were your pain points at your job, so you're like, I want this.
Definitely.
If anyone's listening, these please. I think that one of the things I was wondering, because I saw that all the AWS heroes got this AR device, and yeah, it seemed to me like a very elaborate effort just to please the heroes. So I was wondering if it's maybe more a announcement of stuff that's coming up. I know that some of you are heroes, and probably you cannot say anything if it was, but that would be my uneducated guess.
I think we asked already about this, but what I understand is it was this product, or it was built only for heroes and was completely experienced. So they are not really announcing any new service, but you know, we don't really know that. Maybe it's a surprise.
Yeah, so now
Actually, we are really disappointed as heroes, because last year we had the Monday when Jeff Barr announced all the things for the whole week. So basically my whole re-event was just Monday and the rest of the week, but freaking beer. And this year they decided to not inform us about any announcements, etc. So I'm still excited about what's coming up.
Still have to wait,
to be honest. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anders, what about you? Anything that you specifically want or expect?
Yeah, I would love to see some more. Well, I think their current DevOps tools are lacking some features, so I would like to see some stuff there. Maybe, well, of course, we have the machine learning and AI session later, so there will be a lot there. I'm hoping to see a lot of more easy integrations, like they currently already. Like they already announced today, and maybe some cool IoT stuff.
Yeah, I think some of the DevOps stuff will come in Peter DeSantis' keynote as well. David, you seem very excited about some of the IoT stuff.
No, I thought I was going to say IoT stuff.
You stole your answer.
It's been so long. I think, what was the last service? No, I mean, actually, the one thing that AWS did recently, they had like a new IoT service. I can't remember what it's actually called, though, off the top of my head. Sidewise. Thank you. That's brilliant. Yes. And it's actually a really cool service, but it was like still in the like beta phase and stuff, you know. But it's actually for like figuring out how to kind of inventory like your whole like factory and stuff like that, and you can actually figure out all the PLCs and stuff. It's like a super cool tool, you know. So I think the IoT stuff, there's definitely gonna be. I have a feeling something there. The geek in me though wants to see more deep racer. I want to see F1 racer.
Yeah. I think Lewis Hamilton needs some competition. So. Yeah.
Well, right now it's Daniel Ricciardo, I believe, in
Yeah. Folks watching, please tell us what do you all hope? What are you expecting in the next few days of reInvent? We'd love to hear from you on chat. Fabian, why don't you go next?
Yeah, so mine is actually pretty simple. but multi-AZ storage. So I know we've got the EFS and we have I forgot the Lustre for something for Lustre.
FSX, that's the one.
Yeah, but I think that's also a single AZ. So the IO2 solution, I believe it's called, that was announced, which is more of a SUN. I'm hoping that might be able to attach to multiple AZs, but I'm
Block
not sure.
Express was that called?
Ah, right.
Block
I'll
Express,
write that
yeah.
down so I can keep track. But yeah, I know. So for me, it's really simple because I use a lot of Kubernetes, and that means sometimes I need persistent volumes. But right now, that means that whatever spins up is bound to that specific AZ. And that just goes against all my design principles of being multi-AZ. So I know they're working on a lot of faster storage, which is great. However, I'd be happy if I could have half as fast storage, but multi-AZ. Without EFS, because NFS, well, no, it's not an option.
Interesting. Okay. Cool. And who else hasn't gone? I've lost track. Sorry, Martijn.
Yeah.
And Walter. Yeah.
The thing. So I went to Las Vegas 3 times 3 years ago, and every time we went to Las Vegas in the plane, I met people and what are they going to announce? And everybody said Docker for Lambda. Docker for Lambda. There was a lot of discussion, and I think the last couple of years everybody gave up. They are never going to launch Docker for Lambda because it's against the design principles, etc., etc. And suddenly they are launching this service. And the same happens with ECS and EKS. So what are they going to move further on? Is it both or only one, or just EKS but on a very limited way? But well, they apparently go all in on both platforms. And they're also talking about 3 platforms, so ECS, EKS, and Fargate. So it wouldn't surprise me if we also get some goodies in the Fargate space, because that was left out in the keynote today. So maybe that's something coming up next session.
GPU for Fargate, maybe.
And I also agree with you already said, Maarten, the API for organizations, so that you can delete accounts or even have ephemeral accounts. So just create an account, deploy some stuff, and after your tests ran, delete the whole account, including all the resources. So, but maybe that's a high ask.
There is an open source project that can do that, but it's I saw a really nice video on that from some other AP and ambassador, AWS Hero, I believe. But it was really nice how he did it by coupling all the things and using like a service that scans your QR codes and those kind of things to get into the account, send mails, watch queues, those kind of things, and automate it all the way to the end. But wouldn't do that in the enterprise, to be honest. But
solve the CAPTCHAs.
Yeah, exactly. It was really nice.
Are you a robot? Press. Yeah. Okay. Joop is saying, looking forward to the ML keynote. Hello, Joop. Joop is a colleague of mine. Yes, I think this is the first time there is a machine learning keynote with Swami Subramaniam, who's a VP, and this is happening on the 8th, so do check that out. Lastly, Walter, what are you looking forward to or expect in the next few days?
We were during the keynote discussing something that probably you all have noticed as well. I think they did a ghost announcement of a new service called AWS Clap, machine generated applause. It sounded very let's say interesting. Unless you
is that for all the entertainers in coronavirus times? I guess it's like.
Yeah, it was really funny every time they did it. But on a more serious note, I think I would like this whole Mac on EC2 thing to just be the tip of the iceberg. Because if I could see workspaces on Mac, for instance, that would be really cool. And I can think of a dozen other things that this could tie in really nicely. Yeah, let's see.
Are there any sessions you guys are planning to see this week?
My session is
Not yet. I always wait until the announcements were made, because if you choose a session, I create a whole schedule for the whole week. Then I'm always changing the whole schedule because of all the new announcements, and I only want to watch those. And the old ones are already old, so I can watch them on demand later during Christmas, for example.
I have been doing the database speciality exam readiness stuff. You can go do cert stuff. So I did like a 4-hour one today. It's really good, and it's different to the normal stuff that you do on the training. So I really enjoyed the course. And there's even like a free practice test at the end. 20 questions. I was like, what?
I was wondering, Samira, you know a lot about control plane, right?
You mean
Control tower? Sure. Sorry. But do you expect some improvements there, or is it already feature complete?
Yeah, definitely. This is a really nice question. So, I mean, I would expect some improvement on control tower, and not only control tower, but whole organization, and how you can, as you said before as well, how you can create a new account and you can delete it easily with the whole workload that you had in this account. And also, I want to mention something about well-architected framework. Is in my wish list to see a framework only for serverless architecture and only for machine learning, because it's really generic, and so really you can define very well the architecture. It's and something really else that I wish that I have in my list is about source control management, code commit. Probably you didn't anyone think about that, but I will see only one option that gives you the possibility to do cross-region, and this means you have like your source code in another region. For example, S3 does right now. So only to copy the source code, you have to do a lot of, or to integrate different services. But if AWS does this, should be really, really cool.
Yep, thanks for that. We have Corner Fandestein who says, I'm really looking forward to Amazon ECS and EKS Anywhere. I'm actually surprised we didn't speak in depth about it. I thought that was a very interesting announcement too. Likewise, me too. I am looking forward to what this can bring.
But there are also not that many blog posts about Anywhere. So only about the open source distro of EKS. There is a blog post about that, but nothing about Anywhere.
In due time, I guess. In due time.
Yeah, I didn't understand very well this Anywhere. It was like it's going to be open source, or what this does mean, Anywhere, EKS, ECS.
It's two separate things, right? One is the open source distribution of what they said is EKS. Now, I'm not sure how much of the platform it entails, but I'm hoping at least some of the control plane. And the other one is Run Anywhere, but I'm not quite sure how that's going to work. But I'm really interested.
Yeah, me too.
But isn't that so? Now you can already run like EKS and ECS on outposts. So this would then be like the whole control plane running on your own premises, or
how would that work? How would that work together with the open sourcing of the project? I'm curious. Yeah. Maybe you can let Amazon host a control plane. You can just spin up your nodes wherever. Something like that is what I'm hoping for, actually.
Oh.
Seems like we are going from cloud to on-premise.
I think that the thing that he started the keynote with, 96% is still not spent on the cloud. I think that's something really important, and there are just a lot of workloads that cannot really easily move, and I was quite curious to see these the local zones, and hoping that they'll bring them to Europe sometime soon, because right now it's all US, and they're obviously testing it out as they're rolling it out. But I think that would be quite interesting to see that here as well. specifically for people who have data that cannot leave the Netherlands, would be really great. I don't think we're going to see a region here anytime soon. So having local zones here would be a great middle ground to solving some of the data residency issues.
But speaking of that, I know it wasn't a reInvent launch thing, but I think Europe's getting 2 more regions next year, Spain and Switzerland or something, right? So that's, I mean, it's like, it's definitely getting bigger. So I think hopefully we can see some of these like cooler things like local zones here as well. I mean, that would be epic. I mean, I can see some customers who could really benefit from that kind of stuff, actually. So.
Yeah, I think Switzerland is super interesting, and I think eventually we'll see a region in every country in the EU, but we're talking a decade, I think, before we will see that. But still.
With the rate they're growing, you never know.
Yep.
It could be in 2 weeks from now, right? We still have
Exactly.
2.5 weeks of announcements ahead of us.
Yeah. And last question, I think, before we wind up. What do you think about Aurora Serverless v2? The scaling capabilities looks promising for high database loads. Anybody want to take that? Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, sorry. Yeah. I think definitely interesting, because I also had some people complaining that it mainly was slow when you started from 0 instances or 0 instances. So that I'm wondering if that would work instantly as well. But if it could do that, that would be really, really nice.
You mentioned 5 to 50 seconds spin up time, right? So that doesn't necessarily sound to me like for high scaling production workloads, unless I'm missing something.
Wasn't that the current situation?
Yeah.
Because I think in the new situation it was almost
instant.
instant. Yeah. And also the multi-AZ stuff is really nice for the serverless version, since that was still missing.
Yep. All right, folks. So I think it's time to wrap this up. Just as a reminder, we will be doing the same thing after Dr. Werner Vogel's keynote on the 15th of December. It's a 2-hour keynote, so we will be live at 7 p.m. Central European time with the usual gang. I hope all of you all will be joining in as well. Anyone with last thoughts or guide to surviving virtual reinvent? Usually we tell people not to drink too much at Vegas, or don't go to the shadier parts of Vegas, etc. So we might have to change it up for the virtual version this time.
Yeah, don't stay up 24 hours to watch all the sessions. I think that's...
It's available on demand. You can watch it.
Exactly.
Okay, then let's wrap up. Thanks everyone for joining in, and we will see you all on the 15th. Thank you, and have a fun reinvent.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks.
Cheers.
Bye.
Cheers.